Good morning, and welcome to the second day of the 61st Annual NASCO National Virtual Convention. I'm Marcinda Kester. I am from the great state of Florida. I have served as your Vice President for the last year, and hopefully will serve as your Vice President for the upcoming year. Before we get started this morning, I would like to ask each of you to please keep the state of Texas and Louisiana in your thoughts and prayers. They have some pretty serious weather coming at them, coming from a hurricane state. It is not fun to know that you have an impending hurricane out there heading at you and you're not really sure where it's going. So it's a pretty tough situation, and I would just ask that you keep them in your thoughts and prayers so they know that their NASCO family is thinking of them. Yesterday during the COAC committee meeting, we had the pleasure of having Martin Bomar sit in there. And he was talking to us about some exciting things that are coming up about county committee training. And he made a statement that really resonated with me yesterday. He started his discussion out with what a challenge NASCO had by hosting this virtual convention. But he said, but also what an opportunity you have. And that really stuck with me last night as I was trying to think what I was going to talk about today. And he's right. This is such a great opportunity for us. Yesterday I sat and as Brandon was talking, I was watching the attendee numbers click up and up and up, and we reached almost 600 people. And I was so ecstatic by that we were able to have 600 people listen to us yesterday. And then as I got on Facebook last night and I saw the selfies that were being posted of groups of people sitting around tables watching the convention, I thought, well, wow, who knows how many we really actually had listen in yesterday. And so it excites me to go to national conventions and see, NASCO members attend. But the reason this virtual one is so awesome is that we're able to reach people who might not ever be able to go to a convention, or members or people who are not even members who kind of know about NASCO, but this gives you a little bit of a taste of what a convention is like. So it's really exciting. I hope that it's tempted some people to learn more about NASCO, and if you are interested, please feel free to reach out to your execs, any of the officers, where our doors are always open to talk to you. Brandon talked a lot yesterday about the accomplishments. He did a tremendous job pointing out, the things that you can put in black and white that NASCO has done. But there's a whole nother side of NASCO that I want to talk about. And it's really a personal thing for me because I started back in 1990. I'm not even going to go there and tell you my age, but early 90s. And I remember I was in my first office and convention was coming around and I was like, what's this NASCO? What's this FASCO stuff, And one of the best men that I know, Hugh Hunter, called me up and encouraged me to attend my first convention. It was in Nebraska. I went, drank the Kool-Aid, as Darlene Johnson says, and I've missed very few since then because of personal reasons, not because I didn't want to attend. But it's really, this virtual one is great. It gives you a taste of what we do, but it's not giving you the networking, the friendship building, and honestly, it's a family. It's funny, I'm a daddy's girl, and traveling for NASCO like officers do and traveling for my job, my dad's always worried, where are you going? So, how are you getting there and all that. And I always tell him, Dad, don't worry. I'm a member of NASCO. There's not a state in this nation that I could go to and have an emergency that I probably know somebody that would help me. So that's just a comforting thought that you build such great relationships with this organization that you have a comfort of knowing that, you've got friends everywhere. It helps me in my job as well. I mean, I'll sit there some days and I'll be struggling over some policy and think I have a great idea, and rather by calling and annoying my state office, I'll reach out to a fellow NASCO member that I know, hey, this person really knows NAP, and I'll bounce off of them what I'm thinking. And it's just a really good sense to know that you've got people out there that you can rely on, and they'll pick up the phone and they'll answer when you call. So for those of you who are not members, I really hope that this has been a good experience for you. I hope that you get the opportunity to attend an area rally or even go to a national convention. And like I said, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask any of us. We're more than happy to talk to you about NASCO and what it offers for you. So as vice president, one of my responsibilities is to be the liaison between the NASCO attorney and our members. So it's kind of funny. I remember I was served as secretary before this. You know, I sat there with secretary's job. Bless Rick's heart. It's a very busy position. You do a lot of things with that position. And I remember sitting there watching Brandon, thinking, you know, that's a great job. He's getting mentored by Dennis. He's going to move up in the ranks. But, you know, for 2 years, he's basically sitting there being mentored, because you really don't see a lot of what the vice president does, because so much of it is behind the scenes and so much of it is confidential because you're dealing with personnel issues. And the attorney is part of that. So I'm not going to go over some of the cases or talk about, you know, the different situations that occurred this year. That was in my report, my exit report. You can read that. What I would like to do is give you some little hints of help. What I learned this year by talking with different employees and the situations that occurred, there's some things that we really need to think about. I hope none of you ever have to use the NASCO attorney. But if you do, there's just some things you need to have in your brain before, you know, something like that occurs. So the first thing I would say is make sure you have access to your handbooks. I don't know how many of you have ever tried to Google a PM handbook at home. You can't find them. You can find all of our program handbooks, but you cannot find our HR handbooks that tell us about grievances, that tell us about, you know, position descriptions, any of that. So you might want to make sure you have a copy of those somewhere to access them, because if somebody walks in your office tomorrow and says, pack up your stuff, you got to go, you're going to want to have access to those handbooks. Because I can tell you, I have had to make copies and send them to a lot of employees that needed them this year, and for the guidance to know what the policy was. The second thing I would tell you is start a running record. If you are in a situation, if your gut is telling you something's going sideways with another employee, with a producer, whatever the situation, start documenting, because I can promise you, I don't remember what I had for breakfast. I'm not going to remember what happened 6 months ago. And the first thing when you contact myself or Brandon and want to talk to the attorney, the first thing he's going to ask you is, I need a running record of events. And so if you start documenting things, I hope you'll never need it. You may put it away and never have to use that document. That would be awesome. That's ideal. But if you ever do, it's taking care of yourself. It's protecting yourself. It's documenting actions that happen. Keep personality out of it. Keep opinion out of it. Just state facts. And in the end, that will help you if you ever do have to, you know, provide that type of documentation. And the other advice I have for you is to talk to one of us. We are not in the advice business. The last thing Brandon or I ever want to do is to give someone advice on what you should or should not do, and then you end up getting fired. That would crush my soul. I couldn't do that, and I would feel horrible. So we don't give advice. We will provide policy for you. We will let you know what your options are. We will read your documents and tell you, you know, hey, you might want to take this out. You might want to think about this policy. This applies to your case. We do things like that, but we will not tell you what you should do. That has to be on you. So just keep that in mind when you contact us. We're not going to provide advice on how you need to go. But the NASCO attorney is a great benefit that we offer. I will tell you this, this is one of the benefits that we pretty much draw a line in the sand that you have to be a member. So if you contact me, the first thing I'm going to ask you is, are you a member of your state association? And if you're not, it's okay. You can join, which is awesome. We want you to. We won't turn you away. We'll just ask you to get your membership, and then we will provide that benefit for you. So our attorney's awesome. I've seen his works and what he's done, and he's helped a lot of employees. So he helped us with some of our hotel situation with the national convention, guided us in the right direction. So he's a great resource, and you get 1 hour free consultation with your membership. And if you want to continue to use him, he'll stay with you. You just have to put the rest of the bill yourself. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. I think that's a benefit that's kind of lost, that people don't even realize that's out there. So I won't keep you all too long. I just wanted to talk about a couple of things, and I think at this point I'm going to turn it over to Miss Julie Getzman. She is your National scholarship and awards chairperson. She's going to do a presentation this morning. Julie is also, Brandon touched on this yesterday, but I'm going to brag on her too. Her and Rick Satoris are our tech gurus. Without them, we would not have been able to do this virtual convention. So if you get a chance, shoot them an IM, shoot them an email and tell them thank you, because they have been rock stars, and I truly appreciate it. And I know the entire board does too, because this has actually been very successful so far. So thank you, Julie, and I'm going to turn it over to you. Julie, you're muted, honey.
Okay, if somebody's going to mess up, and I might as well be the person behind the screen this morning. Good morning, this is Julie Getzman, and I am the National Awards and Scholarships Chair from Texas, and I am here to present you with the National DSA and National Scholarship winners. Normally, we would be presenting these at National Convention during our convention program at night. And I will tell you now, all of these winners we will be bringing back next year, and along with next year's winners, actually doing the formal presentations. But to go ahead and give them their deserved award today, from the traditional category of the scholarships, it will be Miss Victoria Vinny from Michigan. Open Continuing, Northwest Area, Kiara Letty from South Dakota. Continuing Education for Adult Children of Members, Midwest Area, will be Cody Bro of Ohio. Grandchildren, Southeast Area, Alexis Hornsby of Louisiana. Member Continuing Education from the Southeast Area, Faith Gilman of Georgia. The Associate Level from the Southeast Area, Natalie Davis of North Carolina. And then going into our Distinguished Service Awards, for FSA to Ag will be the Southwest Area, Chuck Hannigan from Colorado. Service to Community from the Northwest Area will be Bruce Soloco of Nebraska. And last but not least, the Service to NASCO, the Southwest Area, is Jay Goff. I know Marcinda touched briefly on how we normally network from our convention, and a huge part of that is the Herb Sorley contest. I want to remind you, first timers, we have that rolling. There will be some more emails coming out on different ways to network with this Herb Sorley contest. So keep on going with me so we can try to get you as networked as possible in the next few weeks. At this time, though, I'm going to turn you back over to Marcinda Kester, where we were going to start the memorial presentations. Marcinda, you're on mute too.
See, I'm following suit, Julie. Sorry about that. Every year during National Convention, we have a young lady out of Tennessee, Andrea, and your last name just went right out of my head, but she does a tremendous job of putting together a memorial of FSA employees that we have lost over the years. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Julie and ask her to please play that for us.
Okay, at this time, I will send you back to Marcinda for the next portion of the program.
All right, so up next, we have Chris Hare. He is our National Programs Chair. What could I say about Chris? Probably shouldn't say anything. No, don't want to embarrass him. No, to be honest, the amount of work that this guy puts into programs is amazing. He does a tremendous job for us. I'm so proud to work with him. He's so passionate and very excitable about things, which is awesome because he's on task. I mean, you get emails from him early morning, late at night. I don't know that him or Brandon ever sleep, but it's just amazing all the work that he does, and I really appreciate Chris. So I'm going to turn it over to him. He's going to introduce our panel today that's going to be answering your questions on programs. The only thing I will say is keep in mind, yesterday we had a lot of questions that we were not able to get in over the hour. So we will be publishing the questions, the ones that we have answered today. The ones that end up not being answered, we will be sending those up to DC and they will get answers for us, and we will publish those online as well. So don't be upset if your question doesn't get asked today, but we will get an answer for you. So with that, I'm going to turn it to Chris.
Thank you, Marcinda, and welcome to the program's Q&A portion of the day 2 of NASCO's 61st National Convention. I first want to start off with just saying, Andrea Stafford, thank you so much for all these years that you put that memorial together. It's tough to see some of the faces up there that have gotten me inspired and involved over the years, but thank you for always doing that and taking the time. Like Marcinda said, my name is Christopher Hare, and I am the NASCO Programs Committee Chairperson. A little bit about me. I've been with the agency almost 18 years. I've served as 1 year as a program technician, 1 year as a county operations trainee, and then the remaining time I've been spent as a CED. It would be remiss if I didn't do this, but I would like to acknowledge across the country and thank personally my 3 coworkers, Susan Smith, Mary Ferguson, and Jenny Cole. Always showing support, always backed me. When we get into a bind with programs, I try to run things by them and see what their thoughts are. And, you know, they truly are the foundation that keeps this building standing here in Fountain County. So I do appreciate everything that they do for us. Just a little bit of the history of the programs before we start into the Q&A. You know, the programs committee started approximately around 2008, and the reason why it came about was because the negotiations consultants and the negotiation process is actually in our labor management agreement. And back in the day, we were bringing almost upwards of 200 items to negotiate to Washington at a time. At that point, Washington's like, hey, this isn't even beneficial to anybody, NASCO or their staff. So the programs committee was born. And this programs committee actually, it serves the same purpose, but there's a slight difference between negotiations and programs. Negotiations is actually looking at changing policies and other processes, where programs is more geared toward the software and the delivery of it and what we could do better for the customer and for the employees. So I'd just like to walk through a little bit of the process of how it occurs. Well, the employee, has this great idea, which if you're thinking it, more than likely somebody else in the nation is thinking it well. So you go on to the NASCO.org website. On the programs page, you want to submit the submission. After you fill out the complete, the areas that are needed, you hit submit and you will get a copy of what you just submitted. Submitting suggestions on the website basically gives me authority to turn around and run it by the area chairs, which then turns around if we think it's a good idea, which most of them are, then I can actually go ahead and go forward contacting Washington. So discussing ideas and on social media and Facebook, while it's a good place, that doesn't give me the proper authority to go forward to the national office. So you might get a private message from me saying, hey, that really needs to be submitted, it's a great idea. Or somebody from the national office might have seen it and said, hey, they really need to submit that. And we've had that actually. So once a week, I go ahead and I pull the submissions down and I send it to the area chairs. There's one for each area. And then we basically we have some discussion over, is it valuable? Do we already have the tools to do it? And what's our next step? Do we kick it to negotiations? Is it more of a policy change or so forth? So we determine that. Then we determine if we're going to send it up, then at this point, I contact Washington, D.C. through email. I'm going to tell you, I've been around, like I said, almost 18 years. Through NASCO, I've made some really good network of friends and colleagues. I will tell you, hitting that send button to somebody with Washington, D.C. after their name is very intimidating, even for me. So we want to make sure we have everything and all of our ducks in a row before we send that email up. Once we get a response, we typically send back to the person who submitted it. And then we will start after September 1st, we're going to start posting as they come in the responses that we get onto the NASCO.org website. Also starting September 1st, NASCO has decided to go and combine the negotiations consultants and the programs committee chairs into one. There's been some confusion over the years because we've got two different processes, but with about the same type of outcome. Now it's going to be a little bit more efficient and more fluid, that there will be one place for you to submit any idea, and it will be determined by the area negotiation programs consultant and myself, whether we kick it to negotiations or we throw it over to programs. So one of my biggest goals, though, when I took this position, when I was asked to fill this position, was to build and then maintain these relationships that we've got. I do want to publicly thank the area chairs, Jamie Garriott from the Midwest area, Kate Hemstreet from the Northeast area, Debbie Sweet from the Northwest area, Rachel Mulligan from the Southeast area, who took the place of Amy Moore, who went to the state office. Thank you as well. And Tracy Wilson from the Southwest area, and Lucretia Dale, who she replaced. Those 7 worked very hard for each of their areas. And I cannot thank them enough. They do great work, and just the knowledge they bring to the table when reviewing these things is just great. So just a couple of statistics. For 2019, we had over 150 submissions. As of 2020, as of this morning, I went in and looked, and we were already at 31 for this year. I can't tell you how many, because I think about 15 came in yesterday. I truly do mean what I say, though. You might not realize sitting at your desk in the middle of Indiana, but we've got some pretty awesome folks out in DC and Kansas City. They're our biggest supporters. They take as much pride serving us like we do with our farmers. And I was thinking about an analogy this morning about this. Think about being at a football game or a baseball game, okay? Typically, we're in the bleachers cheering on the team that we want to win. Well, it's no different in DC, except for we're the ones on the field playing the game, and they're all in the bleachers cheering for us. And I can't say this enough, because the amount of work that went out this year through all the programs that we've had, all these ad hoc programs, the last 2 years we have gone pretty much full steam. And when we went out in February, all we were getting was like high fives and pat on the backs, and they're so proud of us out there. I can't stress that enough. So, you know, some days when we think they don't get it, they do. But their hands are tied, just like our hands are tied with policy here as well. So I do want to encourage everybody, if you have an idea, there are no bad ideas. It's just how do we present them and how do we make them even great if we're struggling with them. But I suggest everybody submit an idea, because if you're thinking it, someone else is. And I also want to encourage the work tickets. In discussion with Andrea and Lisa Berry, you know, typically the issues that we see as the end users out here, it's not the software side of things that we're struggling with. Sometimes it's the servers and the host issues that cause these problems. So we've got to keep that in the back of our mind before we say the software never works, because it's more than likely a behind the scenes type of deal there. So, and then before I introduce everybody, I want to put 2 plugs in here. Yesterday, hot off the presses, PM Notice 3038 The recruitment for farmers.gov and other FSA system modernization initiatives, was published. If you've ever had a thought of possibly moving to DC or Kansas City or taking a short detail, or if you ever thought about, hey, maybe I could make a difference somewhere else, I encourage you all to apply. We're going to need you and your talent in the places that drive that man our ship. The other thing I also want to, I'd be remiss if I didn't admit it, would be Kansas City national office job openings. If you're ever looking at moving up, be looking at USA Jobs, be watching if your state offices post these openings. There's a lot of good people that have moved up, and there's a lot of talent out in Washington as well, and you could be one of them. So coming from the field office, what better way to handle that? I'm going to stop there because now this is what everyone's been waiting for. If you enjoyed yesterday's Q&A, and actually meeting and conversing with our national office employees is much better than doing this through Teams. The negative, we don't get the energy, we don't get the handshakes, we don't get the camaraderie that we do through Teams. The positives would be probably for Bill, Brad, and Peggy. They're not going to get cornered in a room by me asking a bunch of questions. So I guess it's a fair shake here this year, but I do appreciate and think that what we've got going on is really great. If you did attend yesterday's Q&A, it's going to be about the same format. As President Wilson stated yesterday, there is efficiency and brevity when typing your question, so try to keep it short, sweet, to the point. When you type your question, you have the right to use the anonymous, and I already see a few coming in. However, if you do ask a question, if you wouldn't mind maybe putting the program first, it will help us facilitate who the question goes to. So now it is great pleasure of mine to introduce our guests and our panel today. With us today is Bill Beam, Deputy Administrator of Farm Programs, Brad Carmen, Assistant Deputy Administrator for Farm Programs, Dana Ashford, Acting Conservation Division Director, Danny Cook, Price Supports Division Director, Kim Graham, Safety Net Division Director, Hannah Huggins, Deputy Director of Safety Net Division, and Andrea Naughton-Inslee, Deputy Director of Program Delivery Division. Welcome you all, and thank you all for taking this time out of your day to meet and answer some questions with us. So with that, I will turn it over back to Marcinda.
Hey, Marcinda, you're on mute again.
I clicked at that time, I swear. What I was saying was that what I will do is before I read the question, I'll try to say, like, Kim, this one's for you. So you guys can kind of have your head ready, because I hopefully know who these are going to, but if I'm wrong, you all can shift them to another person or send them to Bill if you want. The first one is probably going to be yours, Kim. It says that 5PL restricts non-family entities to one farm manager. Unless the operation is over 2,500 cropland acres, it does not take into account high labor and costs that a crop like rice costs to produce. It requires rice 6 times more labor to produce than a traditional row crop. Can we have the acres reevaluated to reflect crops such as rice?
Marcinda, I'm going to probably have to take that question down and reach out to one of our staff. I don't foresee it being well, I don't want to say that either. Let me do some research and get you an accurate answer. I know Tana's on the line and she may be a little bit more familiar with the details, Tana, but I don't know if this one, I think this is probably more for either Paul or another one of our staff folks. So I will work on that and get you an answer. Sorry about that. Don't like to start off that way for sure.
That's okay. We expect that some of these might need we'll have to get responses later, and that's perfectly fine. We've told them we'll get them and we'll post them to the website. So
we will certainly get you an answer.
Thank you. This next one, I don't know if you want to take it or Tana wants to take it. Yesterday, Daphne mentioned the new acreage reporting software. Could you give us an estimation of timeline as to implementation in the field?
I'm assuming you're talking about perhaps accuracy when you say acreage reporting software, and if that's the case, that's probably Andrea's question, I would think, right? Okay.
We'll yield to you, Andrea.
Hi, good morning. So again, I probably echo Kim's question. Is that a CARS question? Is that a gear question? Is that accuracy? So not knowing specifically which acreage reporting software we're referring to and what updates. So if you have any more details, I'd be glad to answer.
Well, maybe they'll respond here in a minute and we'll get some more details on that. So if we do, we'll pull that back up. This one is a GIS question, so I'm not sure which of you would like to tackle this one. It says that we've heard about GIS acreage reporting pilot. Can someone give us some more details about that? Do we have a taker?
Hey, so yeah, the GEAR pilot, the geospatially enhanced acreage reporting pilot has concluded, and we are in a lessons learned phase. We're sort of collecting what we've discovered, and after we absorb and analyze that, we'll have future steps, and we'll make sure that we have a task force that's working that, and we'll share information as we can.
Okay, and while I have you there, it was about gear, that previous question, Andrea.
So hopefully that question was answered, unless there's a follow-on. It's not coming out yet. Like I said, we're in a lessons learned phase of the pilot, so we don't have a date.
Okay, great. This is an ELAP question, so I'm going to assume that this might be Kim or Tana. The changes that came for ELAP now require beekeepers to submit notices of loss within 15 days. All other types of losses for this program and other livestock disaster programs have a 30-day time frame. This has caused local beekeepers to overwhelm the offices with notices of loss and revisions to the 578s to be every week or two, especially with losses that are being claimed to colony collapse disorder. Is there any reason that these types of losses can be moved back to 30 days as they have been in the past? Is it law or FSA policy?
It is FSA policy, and Marcinda, if my memory serves me correct, I think this is something that Amy has gotten some comments probably from the field on. It is something I know that we had talked about. Again, I'll have to go back and let you know what our findings were, but it is something that we had looked at, and it isn't a regulatory item. At least I don't think so. I think it is just policy. So we will I can respond and get you an answer, but I can say, go on record saying it is something that we have gotten input from the field on, or comments back, and so it was something that we were actually taking a look at.
Great, thank you. This one is going to be for Dana, a CRP question. Can we please have continuous certifications back for CRP? We just got producers thinking they don't have to sign every year, and we changed the rules on them again. It is also a lot of work for the local offices to track down absentee landowners.
Yes, thank you. And I will plead that a few of these may have to get answered later because I am relatively new to FSA and I'm on detail, so I don't have all the answers. And my understanding is this is an overlap between DAFP and compliance. So we probably will need to work together to get a response to that question, and we'll get something out during the Q&A, a follow-up to this. Unless someone else on the call has an answer to that they know has already been worked through.
I see Bill is on. Would you like to comment on that, Bill, or are you good to?
Yeah, so thanks, Dana. And So basically, we realized that, you know, we weren't seeing the producer come in there, and the producer forgot to tell us that, oh, by the way, I sold a corner of that field off and my daughter built a house there or something like that. So for that reason, we thought that would probably be a good idea to have them do an annual acreage report. That doesn't mean that we cannot, you know, we can still mail them the printout, they can fill it out, they can mail it back to us, or now you have the one box or box, I think it's called, that you could send the documents back and forth to. You know, we don't want to burden them, but we do want to check in with them, and the fact that, yes, that field's still in CRP is probably not too difficult of a task to do once a year. So that's why we did that.
Okay, thank you. This is a WIP Plus question. Probably Tana, I guess, might want to answer this one. We currently only have a manual ledger for WIP Plus request. How important is it to go and run the WIPR to show in progress?
So we have had quite a bit of discussion related to WIP Plus and pending applications and in progress applications and all of that. So I'm going to say that right now we are evaluating really what we want you to do, where you need to be. The first piece I would say is if you have applications that have been filed that you've processed and they've calculated to 0, go ahead and approve those, get those so that they show up as done. If you have some that you have got, it's my understanding there's some counties that have identified maybe this is the register, which is not truly a register by 1CM handbook definition register, but have a list of producers who have contacted you and are interested in WIP. At this point, there's no reason I mean, we want you to work through them as quickly as possible, but unlike kind of where we were with 2017 WIP, right now, there's nothing that you need to do as far as loading anything in. We need you to process them as quickly as possible, but we are going to work on providing guidance and maybe identify what you can do with the ones that you've contacted so that we can kind of gather and figure out how many applications that we do have that are incoming that nothing has been done yet on.
Okay, thank you. The next question is an ARC PLC question. So Kimberly, this is going to come your way. What is the reason for having ARC PLC enrollment deadline in March when acreage reporting is not finished until July? Producers don't know that early in the year what their share of the ARC PLC contract will be. This causes extra work for the county office to adjust the contracts after all acreages have been reported and shares are determined.
I don't know if Brad has made it on the call, Marcinda, and I'll be totally honest with you. I have to do a little research on that. I'm gonna blame this one to our golden boy, who you all know has moved on to RMA. It probably was Mr. FSA NASCO himself, Brent Orr. He'll take that as a joke. I'm sorry, but on no serious note, I will provide a response. I just don't have that in front of me, and I thought Brad might be on the call. He could probably answer that as well. But if not, I'll get a response for you.
So Brad is on the call. He just cannot be seen. So if he can see us, so maybe Brad, can you speak? Can we hear you?
Because I'm sure he has some background on that on the date. He may come on, and we can. I don't want to hold up your questions, but we can. Like I said, if he jumps on, we can bring it up again. If not, I'll get you an answer.
Okay, sounds good. The next question is a CRP question. So this is going to be for you, Dana. Our partners at NRCS are having trouble meeting our CRP grasslands planning deadline of 9/11. Is there any discussion of the interim plan to be used for CRP considering the workload and priorities of NRCS planning staff?
Yes, this actually is one I can answer. I would applaud up here at headquarters, FSA and NRCS work really closely together. We have a weekly meeting where we talk about items that are going on, and the last few weeks, this workload has been a topic of discussion, and how are we going to solve this? What are we going to do for the field? And we are working on some joint guidance that will go out hopefully in the next week, that will provide some of that information and guidance on what the options are moving forward. And hopefully we will get that work done and get an RCS to get their part of it done as well. So look forward to that in the next week. It should be out. I know we have a draft that we're in the process of reviewing. So sometimes it gets difficult when those things go back and forth. We have to get everyone to agree to it. So hopefully that'll be out shortly.
Okay, great. Thank you. Kim, this one's going to be yours. It's actually probably more for Paul. CM question says county offices have dealt with a workaround, or Andrea might actually know this one. County offices have dealt with a workaround for producers creating revocable trust after being paid as individuals. Is there any end in sight for the workaround? It has been a thorn in our side for many times of the non-DPE entity is inadvertently placed on contract applications, etc., as the naming conventions are confusing.
That is one that I'm going to have to follow up with Paul on. I know we have made several, or in the process of making several enhancements in the software for some of the payment limitation issues. Andrea, I'm not sure if this is one that we have identified. Michelle would probably know right off the top of her head, Michelle Davison. For some reason, I think it is, I know it's one that we have talked about because Paul has put together a list of items. I'm just not sure where this one is in the queue.
Yeah, I'll have to follow up on that to see where we are with that particular item, but I will.
Great, thank you. Another ARC PLC one, Kim. ARC PLC sign-up could be streamlined immensely with far less errors if CARS and ARC PLC software were able to interface after crop reporting. Is there any reason this cannot be done?
Trying to get off mute. Can't get off mute. Go ahead. Mute.
You're off. Go ahead.
Okay. I definitely think it would help. And I don't know how difficult from a software perspective that would be for us to do that. I think this is also another item I know that we have talked about and Brent has brought it up, but I'm not sure, Andrea, if one of our challenges have been the effort on the software side to do something like that. I'm just not sure why we hadn't, went forward to try to make to make that happen from an automated perspective. Not that I think it's a challenge. I think Lisa would also agree that it would be a good thing to do. I'm just wondering if it's just one of those items where the level of effort and the priorities that we're having to manage has just not allowed that to happen. Andre, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Right. So I don't have the specifics around this particular item, but it's definitely something, interfacing with other systems is definitely something we want to do as much as possible. We may need some details around when and at what points these interfaces need to occur. I'm sure Mike Walter's very familiar. I could probably circle with him and see if there's any roadblocks or reasons why we can't or shouldn't, and we can certainly look into it.
Great, thank you. I think this one's probably going to be for Bill. This was answered yesterday, but I'll let Bill, if he's still available on the call. The question is about CFAP 2. Has a hard sign-up date been set based on Secretary Perdue's comments? The county office is already getting ranchers calling in to sign up for the second round.
So has a date been set? If there was a date set, I cannot tell you. So that's about all I can tell you. It is getting closer, but you know, so sign up ends on 9/11, right? So you know, it's not going to happen before that. That's about all I can tell you. So.
Thank you. All right, this is actually more of a comment than a question, but it says, I want to express our appreciation to the software developers for the fantastic software that was rolled out for CFAP. It is the first software that I can remember that was fully functional from the onset and is super easy to use. Again, thank you. So it's always nice for you all, I'm sure, to hear that you're doing a good job, so I wanted to make sure I read that to you. The next question is about WIP Plus. Should zero payment WIP Plus applications be signed by the producer? You stated that we should go ahead and approve those. Tana, you want to take that one?
You do need to have signatures to be able to approve them. If the producer is not going to sign, then you do need to, if you want to either, is it cancel or withdraw, either way, but yeah. We really don't want them as a pending application, because then we don't know how to count them. We don't know where we are. So if the producer signs it, yes. If the producer's willing to sign it, is in there doing something else, and you get a signature, yes, please go ahead and approve it. But if you don't have producer signature, then if you could withdraw it or cancel it, whichever is appropriate, that would be preferred, please.
Marcinda, do you all feel that there's a large universe of applicants that fall in that range? I'm just curious. With the zero payment that are just out there pending.
Julie's shaking her. I'm not a WIP Plus county. Julie's shaking her head yes, you know, for being from Texas. So I couldn't answer that nationwide, but because I don't have any in my area.
Okay.
Okay, the next one's going to be for Dana again. It's about CRP. Where are we nationwide in total acres in CRP versus the nationwide acreage threshold set in the 2018 Farm Bill? Will there be a general sign-up in the next fiscal year?
Okay. Well, our FY20 statutory authority for enrollment was 24.5 million. I know we are currently under that number. And my understanding is there will be a general sign up in the next FY, but we do not have any dates on that yet.
Okay, great. Brandon has asked, is there any way that Brad or Paul could call into one of the presenters on a phone and we could do a speakerphone?
I have actually added Brad in as a presenter now.
Okay.
Good.
Actually, Brad's not available at the moment. And he has a meeting at 12 noon.
Okay.
There's a chance we may not be able to catch him, but I almost had him snagged for you.
Thanks for trying.
I will say, Marcinda, if there are specific questions though relating to you know, payment limitation or some of the payment limit items, we can certainly if you get the questions and you can pass this along to Brandon, we will follow up and make sure you get timely responses for those things that we can respond to. Let me say that. Paul is out today, or he's in, but he's not fully in. He's under the weather actually, and he's still working. So I don't want to pull him in the last minute, but we will definitely make sure that they get answered.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate that. All right, this next question is a compliance question. Is there any talk of eliminating the 576 to report prevent plant acres? It's a heavy workload during our busiest time of year. Also, crop insurance, RMA, already make a PP determination, so it seems redundant that we make a separate determination. Couldn't we just use RMA's determination when looking at planting credit history?
Tana, you want to?
I can do that. So
okay.
Currently, There are preventive planning, there's policy in 2CP that does allow us to consider something submitted to an insurance agent. So we'll take a look. I guess I would like to know specifically more what you are referring to. So maybe expand the question a little bit, but we'll definitely take a look and see if maybe we need to either clarify policy or provide further guidance to cover the situations to which you're referring.
Okay, great, thanks. Tana, this one's probably going to be yours as well. Any consideration of allowing WIP plus excessive moisture to be added under the flood umbrella, much like heat and high winds were with drought? County has flood designation, but RMA told loss adjuster to code all fields as excessive moisture. This would help tremendously. There are a ton of in-progress applications because producers are having a hard time figuring out how to gather weather data and send a statement. Also puts COC in a tough spot to make decisions. Not fair to multi-county producers who have one COC approving these and some not. In this case, the producer provided the data and statement.
So we have had that request, but for all intents and purposes, the cause of loss is what was identified, and they are not the same. So we're trying to work through some of those, but for those of you that's been around as long as I have, I'm gonna be like Marcinda, I'm not gonna tell you how long that's been, but we've been fighting that same issue with every disaster program that we've administered. The unique piece is WIP has specifically identified issues and has specifically identified causes of loss. And so right now, we've not made any differences. I mean, Bill may want to speak to it, but right now we are pretty much holding the line with it has to be one of the specified eligible causes of loss, and it has to clear all the way through all actions or through all the paperwork to be able to be eligible. So, again, we've heard that before. We understand those exist. It's just that it's a very, I'll use the term slippery slope if we start opening doors to be inconsistent with what the notices of loss are. So sorry, that's probably not what you wanted to hear, but that's really where we are.
Okay, thanks, Tana. This one's going to be for Dana. It says currently in Indiana, we have certain practices that mid-contract management can be waived on: filter strips, waterways, tree practices, etc. This only applies to SU 53 and 54. Will this become effective for prior signups as well?
This is going to be one that I'm going to need to follow up and get an answer on. I don't know off the top of my head. I apologize.
That is perfectly fine. And the next one's for you as well. Well, it might be for you and Paul because it's talking about payments. But if a CRP producer has earned a CRP payment but dies in the middle of the fiscal year, why can't counties continue to keep the deceased person on for the entire year? When they die at the end of the fiscal year, it takes time to get the succession paperwork, so the payment sits there until it sits there unpaid.
I know I don't have a response for this, so hopefully one of the other divisions does.
Dana, I don't know if it's, I was going to initially I thought maybe it had something to do on our automation side with the contracts, but that I don't think is the issue. Let me reach out to Paul and see. I don't think we have anything in policy on our side that specifically states that would be the case for CRP contracts. So it leads me to believe that maybe there's something on the conservation side, but we can work together and find out why, or get a better answer, Dana. And if it's something on my side, I probably should know, but I do not have the details as to why we do that policy-wise, but I might be able to find out before I get off. As many handbooks as I'm pulling up while I'm on the call, I might have it before we get off. I'm a guru at that. No.
Awesome. Well, this one's for you as well, Kim. It's an ARC PLC one.
Okay.
It says ARC PLC aligns with RMA products of Stacks and SCO. Since their sales closing dates are early in the crop year, producers must elect early in the year as well.
Yes, I think that might have been my comment. I added something in the chat that kind of spoke to that March 15th date that you guys had asked me about. Again, just going through some of my notes and looking back, and ran that one through a few of the folks on our team. And that was one of the reasons. I think the question was, why did we pick the March 15th date? And acreage reporting is still, you know, it was to be more in line with the RMA dates to kind of help what we thought help the producers in terms of some of their decisions. So I think that's the same comment, or very close to what you just mentioned anyway.
Okay, great. Dana, this one's for you. Is there any plan for new cost share software? CSS is not user-friendly and or intuitive.
Yeah, I think Andrea raised her hand that she can offer an answer to this. Thank you.
Thanks. So we know that cost share has been a struggle for ever since we moved from System 36 to the web. And we've attempted multiple times to come up with a solution, and we are again kicking off another round of potential solutions for cost share. We're very excited about it. We hope it takes off. We've got a task force working right now, trying to identify pain points and figure out the best way to automate cost share. It's definitely top on our list. So I appreciate the question, and we'll keep you apprised of our progress.
Great, thanks, Andrea. This is a CFAP question. I don't know who wants to tackle this one. I don't know if Bill wants it, since it's talking about deadlines. It says, with the new deadline of 9/11 and the new crops added 2 weeks ago, is there discussion to extend the deadline? The additional crops and the short turnaround has created significant workload in the county office. There is not enough time to work with all the new crop participants.
Bill may want to respond. If not, I will say that we have not been given any indication or authority to extend the deadline for a second time or post 9/11. So at this point, I can say officially there's no no decision to extend the deadline, but I see Bill popped up, so I'll leave it at that. We recognize that, you know, it was a lot of crops and it was two weeks, but it is what it is at this point.
I see Bill giving you a thumbs up, so I think he had concurred with your answer. So
oh, I am okay.
You did good, Kim.
If the boss gives me thumbs up, I'll walk away right there. You know, I'll leave it alone.
All right, this one is for you as well. This is an ARC PLC. It says, for ARC PLC sign-up purposes, is it possible to have the multi-year contract option available for all years in situations where producers don't want to change their election?
That's a good question. And I think we've talked about that as well. Marcinda, let me follow up on that. I know that was one of the things that Brent had brought up initially as a recommendation. I'm just not sure. Let me follow up on that one and I'll get an answer back.
Great, sounds good. All right, this one I think is in response to Bill's answer before on CRP. It says, to clarify and expand on the CRP continuous certification process, I understand where Mr. Beam is coming from, but I just want to share that as a county office with over 1,000 CRP contracts, We have many producers where CRP is the only program in which they have an interest. Many of them are elderly and live out of state, and it is difficult to get signatures back on the CRP certification. It makes sense for most producers to certify annually, but the difficulty lies with the producers who only have CRP. Perhaps a continuous certification can be considered in certain cases.
So that sounded more like a comment than a question. No, I hear what you're saying, you know, and that's why I mentioned, so you have the option to mail it and get it mailed back. It's not like you have to, you know, well, of course, nobody was physically in an office for the most part this spring, but yeah, duly noted. I don't know how, just thinking out loud, I don't know how you would determine who gets the continuous certification and who does not. That would be a little tough to administer as far as policy, but we're definitely considering. I know we had, to be fair, we had quite a conversation about the annual certification versus continuous, and we waited, you know, we kicked it back and forth quite a bit, and ultimately we made the decision that we have now where they come in annually and certify.
Okay, thank you. This one is probably for Andrea. This is an automation question. It says, and I'm assuming they're talking about appointments that are in Outlook, because it says, is there any way to have reminders automatically sent to producers of their appointments? So I'm assuming they're looking for a way for us to pull something out of our Outlook calendar and send something to them.
I'm gonna preface by saying PDD is not responsible for Outlook software, but I'm sure that there's probably a way to do that. I do know that there's been discussions, very preliminary discussions about schedulers. I'm not going to go into it because I don't know the details. I think maybe DAFO has some information on it. But just know that we're looking at it and it's on the table. So.
Okay, this one's probably for you as well, Andrea. It's talking about payments. Is there a way to have the deceased flag appear in subsidiary or any alert in NPS before payments are issued? Also, is there a way to have an alert in NPS for when direct deposit accounts are not on file prior to the payment being issued?
I'll probably have to circle around on those particular items. That sounds like notifications to me, and we can look into it. The direct deposit might be a little fishy or funny just because it's not really something that we are responsible for, but we can look at it.
Okay, great, thank you. This one is for Dana. Is there a reason that the re-enroll continuous CRP deadline for the producer to tell us they are interested? NRCS has to field visit and perfect the acres. FSA to have perfected acres and coals, and the producer to have a signature on the CRP1 and CRP2C are all the same day. The producer can call us at 4:25 on the day of the deadline, and it would be impossible for us to complete all those tasks by 4:30.
Yes, so yes, some of the deadlines are sometimes a little bit unrealistic. We recognize that, and we also are constantly looking at and reviewing timelines. And this is one that hopefully we don't get into that situation where we're doing those last minute, but we will look into it a little bit further and see if there's an opportunity to maybe make some adjustments there.
Great, thank you. This one's probably going to be for Tana. When will county offices be able to use the automated 576 not for NAP? Added that checkbox would be a huge time saver, and form is automated, but county office is punished for using it.
I think that the term punished for using it's a little bit interesting, but that is on our to-do list. We have got that there. It's just that it has not ever raised itself to to the high enough level to get that accomplished. But it is on our, we need to do this list. So I don't know where it is in the list, but it's there.
Okay, great. This one probably might be for you as well. It says, what is the reasoning for having to idle outfields in cars? Can this be a default in the new software if remaining requirement? Since RMA does not require fields to be 100% reported, why does FSA?
So that's all part, I mean, I think we all know that ARC PLC is the biggest consumer in essence of our acreage reports, because we have to have all croplands certified. And with that in mind, we had to find a way to accommodate the acreage that is in our record as cropland, and yet now we've got a producer who is maybe using some tool to come back in and say, I planted 78.9 acres and we've got our cropland as 80 acres. And so we put the idle in there as a means to accommodate that. So as we move forward with gear that Andrea talked about earlier, that is one of the pieces to that puzzle that that was actually on the list. Could we load everything we've got and then have I'm done, and then an automatic everything else goes to idle? So those type of things are being considered as we move forward to gear. Right now, cars is in place and we know that, and maybe we'll take a look and see if that's even possible with cars. But as we're moving forward, that is a consideration. We recognize that, okay, I'm done, check mark, I'm done, everything else assumes to idle. So that's a very good point, something that we've looked at.
Thanks, Tana. This one I'm going to assume is probably going to be a Bill question, or if somebody else knows the answer, or if it's already happening, let us know. Is there any way we can start a conversation with RMA about coming together on consistent policies between unit numbers? Do you want that one, Kim?
I was over here snickling because that's been something I know that has been we've been attempting to do, or has come up probably every year that I've worked, and I've worked a long time. But I'll defer to my boss on that. Bill, you have any comments? I think from my experience, even before coming on to S&D, they mean different things in different worlds, and that's part of the challenge, right? RMA looks at and identifies certain things and looks at it for purposes that sometimes are outside of some of the reasons that we would look at that. I don't know, Tom, if you want to chime in, since you have a lot of within the policy and procedures branch, NAP, and even with, that there are probably even more reasons why we ought to be there, but we're not.
So I would just say, I am guessing the frustration is as you're trying to reconcile for WHIP purposes, would be my guess. And
that's part of it.
as we're moving forward, the way the insurance products work is very different than the way the Farm Service Agency programs work. And frustrating though it may be, I don't know that we can ever get there, but we do have a good relationship with RMA, and stinking RMA keeps stealing our employees. So there's a lot of people that work at RMA that have a good FSA background. And so I think they understand what FSA needs, but they also have their board. RMA has their board that they use and administer programs based on the guidance from the board, which doesn't always align with FSA. And then we have Congress telling us we have to do things a certain way, and unfortunately those don't always align. But we hear your pain, I guess is what I can say, but I don't know that we have much help for you there.
Yeah, at least not immediate relief, let's say that.
Okay, this next one is probably, I think it's a CM question. It's about the form AD 2047. So with many new customers coming in with CFAP, when we're entering the producer information per the form 2047 into MIDAS, it requires us to put in a race determination, a gender determination, ethnicity determination for those new customers. Well, while we're in the office, we have no way of knowing that personal information. According to 1 CM paragraph 199, it states no other forms may be used to collect race, ethnicity, or gender data. Collection of said data for MIDAS is not on form AD 2047 or payment limitation form. This is a redundant process in MIDAS. Will you look into this redundant step, and if it is determined as irrelevant step, please take the steps to correct the MIDAS software.
Andrea, I know we are currently making some changes or have made some changes to the 80-2047 form, and it's in the process of going through the ICP and information collection process. Let me take that one down, Marcinda, and we'll get a response to that as well.
Do you know what changes are being made to the form? And the reason I ask, I come from a county that's very heavy populated with U.S. citizens and non-U.S. citizens that are farming. And I've come into a situation with CFAP, to be honest with you, where a gentleman got almost offended when I had to ask him about his citizenship. And to me, I would much rather have it on the 2047 and let them declare that answer than me have to ask him, are you a U.S. citizen, to see if he was eligible for the program. So I'm just curious if that's one of the changes that's going to happen.
No, citizenship is not. We changed up a few of the organization and blocks around race and gender and some of the language in the demographic information box, but nothing specific to citizenship. There is a, 4A has a resident status, but nothing specific to outside of that. So unfortunately, we did not change anything to maybe help in that situation, but.
Okay.
And that question, can we get that question, the last one that you just mentioned, in writing? I think I may have missed. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, all of them that are not answered, we're going to send up to you all to get a response to, so we can post them. So yeah, I appreciate that. Awesome. So this one, I don't know if Dana wants to take this or if she wants to throw it to Bill. It's more of a statement than well, I think there's an underlying question in here. It says, our NRCS said they would be getting new software and then they would be making CRP cost share payments. I think they're wanting to know if there's any validity to that statement that NRCS has made.
I don't know anything about that, so I will throw it to Bill. He may know something above my knowledge.
Did we lose Bill? He may have had to step away. So we'll have to send that one up as well and probably get it answered. This one is for Danny. She thought she was going to get away without having a question. I don't know if we lose her. Oh, well, we can't let that happen. So the question is about why do we charge husbands and wives $100 application fee for each? Essentially, they're one operation.
Well, what program are we talking about?
Chris, you want to answer that question since this is your question?
Yeah, it came in yesterday. I'm sorry, Danny, as a NASCO program submission. It was for farm storage facility loans. Essentially, they were looking at it as we charge a husband and wife or a joint operation $100 per warm body, essentially. And why? I guess the concern was, why can't we just charge them one application fee, since it is essentially a joint operation, the same people?
I'm going to have to check on that because I thought it was a per application fee, or if it's per producer, I think that's why they're being charged that way. But I will have to follow up on that. Just send me the question. We'll get the answer to.
I appreciate that. And You weren't going to get off the hook that easy.
Oh, gosh.
Thanks, Danny.
No problem.
This one is probably for Bill. I don't know, Tana or Kim, one of y'all might want to take this and respond to it. It says, each year we have more and more deadline dates, and it's hard for producers to keep up with. Has there been any thought to consolidating deadlines across programs when possible?
Okay, I don't see Bill responding. I would, Marcinda, I would say yes, that in terms of considering and trying to consolidate, I think we always try to do whatever we can to make it easier for the producer and for the field to administer. It's a lot easier if you can kind of tie all of that in together. So we always try to look at things like that, as well as trying to, look at programs when they're being developed, not to maybe have them at the same, in some cases at the same time other programs are also coming to an end. So we do that. Unfortunately, sometimes those decisions are out of our control and for various reasons. But to answer the question, have those deadlines being tied to one been considered? Yes. We haven't been able to get full, I don't want to say support because that's not the right answer, but for some reason they just never kind of seem to work out that way when we start to elevate those decisions. I would say that, but we always try to do that, and when it's feasible and it works, I think that we won't have a problem getting there. But it's just the nature of some of the programs that don't allow us to be able to do that. Sometimes there's statutory, I shouldn't say statutory, but in some cases there are statutory reasons that say that a program has to end on this day, which, kind of kicks that out of the way. And I know you guys all know that, but when we have some discretion, we try. It's just that sometimes we're not able to achieve that for, I would say, other reasons. And it could be a multiple different or variation of reasons why we can't. Tom, I don't know if you want to chime in on that, or Andrea, even if you want to. You guys might have an opinion, but I know it's something that we always talk about when we start to develop programs.
I will mention that probably acreage reporting is a good example of a time frame where we have tried to be consistent with something else, because we are consistent with Risk Management Agency on their deadlines. So keep that, just to the extent possible, we do try to be cooperative. It's just, as Kim alluded to, we don't always have that opportunity. And there are some situations where, we don't want to end the two programs on the same date, because we hear from you, don't do that. So
right.
there are some of those pieces as well.
That is very true. Thanks, Tana. This one is a CRP question, so it's probably for Dana. It says, there have been many situations where county and state committees have referred waiver requests for cost share increases for CRP components. This end up in the Conservation Division, and we never hear a response of yes or no. This leaves the committees and the producers in a tough position. Any solutions on streamlined communication from the field to the Conservation Division?
Yes, so this is one, I haven't seen any of these since I've been around, but if there is a lack of responsiveness, I would just say follow up. Sometimes things get lost in the virtual stacks, and or it just didn't make it to us for various reasons. So I would just say follow up, because we try to be responsive. It does get busy and hectic, and sometimes things get lost in the shuffle. So I would just say follow up. While I'm here, follow up with me directly. I'm more than happy to follow up on it, or the program managers. I know with this, a lot of times it would be tied to CRP and continuous. And I know Virgil and Jenny try really hard to be responsive to the field. So that would be my recommendation. Thanks.
Great, thank you. There was a question. It says, is there any way to get the names and titles of a national office panel? It will be very helpful when reporting back to the entire state. Absolutely. Chris has a list of those, and we will get those posted, so so we can have those for y'all to have. The next question is about recons. Will we be able to resume recons after 10/1/2020 once rollover is complete? Waiting till March was only for our PLC election process for 2019/2020, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Acreage reporting. Has there been any consideration of having orchards and Christmas tree farms to have some sort of continuous coverage like hay?
I'll take that one. That's a very good question. We have taken a look at evaluating what additional perennial crops that we maybe could put into that continuous certification category. Honestly, we were trying to see how it worked for the hay and go from there. So absolutely, we will take that under advisement. No question.
Okay, Tana, this one's going to be for you as well, probably. County officers are doing all they can to get WIP Plus completed. Some applications can take upwards of 8 hours to complete from the beginning to end. With all of our capabilities, why is it that the program in particular, a line-by-line manual load when the data we need is already coming over from RMA?
Oh, if you only knew. Marcinda, why don't you answer that question? You know, the very same, I can give the same answer you would give. Unfortunately, because of the complexity of what comes from RMA, as well as our platform on which we were required to establish the WIP Plus software, we can't get there from here. I say we can, but by the time we got there, we would be 5 years down the road and you would be done. So we understand your frustration. We are sympathetic to that frustration. And if there was a way to help you, we definitely would. But there is, I'm sorry, there is nothing we can do. We understand it. Right now, we're looking to see if there's any policy alternatives, any alternatives we can have to help you try to get WIP Plus done, because we recognize that, yes, there, you know, you get the one crop, one producer, it's all insured or all NAP covered, pretty easy. An hour and you're done, even with a second party review. But when it comes to the whipper that's 27 pages or longer, it takes forever, and we know that. So we're trying to do what we can to help, but unfortunately, that is not an option to try to pull it in from the RMA downloaded information.
Trust me, if there'd been a will, we would have done it on the first WIP, right, Tana? All right.
No question, we would have.
Yeah. This one, I guess, possibly is for Andrea. Is there a way to keep deceased producers from receiving mass mailings that come out from the national office when they are marked as deceased in no mail and Midas?
So it depends who's doing the mailing. We have a process that we've tried to standardize for mailing coming out, that deceased producer flag and the no mail flag. So as long as the person doing the mailing is following that, then they won't get the piece of mail. But it's an important step to include in when you pull the addresses for the mailing, that you make sure you look for that. So if anyone in the national office is doing a mailing and they want to know what they need to do, they can reach out to us and we'll make sure that we don't ignore that flag. And if you are getting mailings that to deceased producers, please let us know for which program or which mailing so that we can correct it or correct the person doing the mailing.
Okay, great. Here's another software question, Andrea. It says, when will financial service information link up with Midas again? I find it very helpful to use the PDF fact sheets to review information with producers. I've caught a lot of bank account changes, but that info is no longer there.
That may require some coordination with FMD. So I'd need to circle with them I'm not sure why we would stop doing whatever we were doing before. So let me circle on that one.
Okay, great. This one's about ARC PLC letters. It says the letters have been mailed to ARC PLC producers and landowners have created an influx of calls on many occasions. Is there any way to evaluate the list of recipients before sending? For example, only sending to farms that are not enrolled instead of to entire database, cost and time saver. You're on mute, Kim.
I actually think we have done that in the past, if my memory serves me correct. And Andrea, you can help me, but I think that's a part of Mike Walters' process when we do roll out those letters. But I can go back and confirm. But I'm almost positive that we've done that in the past as a way of trying to, you know, of course, be mindful of our costs and to be efficient in the way in which we, you know, are leveraging resources to get those mailed. I'll go back and I'll take a look at it, but that to me, I think is happening. I want to confirm again with Mike, but I know he goes through a few processes, you know, to weed through things like that so we don't, you know, so that we can save and also be more efficient in the delivery. Go ahead, Andrea.
I was just gonna sort of reiterate what I just said on the last question, that if there's a mailing that goes out and there's an issue with the mailing, if someone's receiving something and they shouldn't be, please let us know which mailing it was and what's happening, who's getting it that shouldn't be getting it. And then we'll continue to streamline our process and try to share that process out with all areas that do mailings.
Awesome, thanks. This one is probably for you, Andrea. When you search for a farm in Midas and the farm number is found, is it possible to add the producer's name back to the info line that comes up?
I would have to circle on that one. I'd have to think about that one. Let me get you back to you on that one.
Okay, and here's one more for you, just maybe circle back on. When we mark a producer as deceased, can we have that also flag in the COC eligible voters list and remove the direct deposit all at once? That's a big ask. I mean, I know it's so hard to remember to remove them out of that voters list, and we always get those things returned to us, and we spend hours going into the election and removing people, so that would be very helpful on that end.
So let me start by saying that I think this is a great idea. It will take some coordination though, because we don't own the COC election process and we don't own direct deposit, but we know who does, and we can talk to them and work on it.
Okay, great. This is an AGI question. Kim, will we be able to continue the new process for not sending AGIs to the IRS, or is that temporary because of COVID complications? It has helped to ease workload. If we don't have to print the report and attach to the form, that would be helpful as well.
We are hoping to continue that process. I think is Janae on the phone? Janae on the phone? She's listening, and I'm sorry. Okay, I'm getting that echo, y'all. No, but we are attempting to continue that process, Marcinda. So hopefully I can get you some more details specifically on that. Paul would be able to do that. We've been talking to folks across the street and working with others outside the agency to put that in play. I don't have the final answer in front of me, but I can get you, I'll get a response back.
Okay, great. So we only have a couple minutes left, but there is basically an ask here. And I know, Kim, you said you guys are working on the AD 2047. And this is actually a really good idea because I think a lot of us forget to add people into the COC election part. So the question is can we have the form AD 2047 changed to have a field that would ask for the LAA code that could be completed by the FSA office, because obviously the producer is not going to know that. And then that would remind us that we have to load them into the COC election database, so we don't forget to make them an eligible voter, right? So that would like even have maybe a box where we check that we did it and date it or something. I don't know, but that's a good reminder because a lot of us forget to do that.
Okay, we'll take a look at the form. If it's something we can add, I think, I mean, if it's doable, I don't think we would have a problem adding it. And this is probably a good time if we want to do that, since we're possibly we're making changes now. So I will run that by Paul and others to see if that's something that we can put in the COC usage. Or CCC, I'm sorry.
Okay. That is going to wrap up. Jamie, I don't know what's happening. It's causing us to echo. There we go. That's going to wrap up our Q&A portion. I cannot tell you how much we appreciate you all taking time out of your busy schedules. We know your time is valuable. I think it's been really beneficial. Just so you know, we had almost 500 people attending today watching this. So there was probably way more than that because there's probably several sitting around computers. So that's pretty awesome. And hopefully they got a little taste of what the Q&A is like at the convention. Chris, is there anything that you would like to add before we move on to the next segment?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a couple of closing comments you've already said, but first of all, Dana, I apologize. I can't remember how long you've actually been in your role. First of all, welcome, and you just survived your first national NASCO Q&A, so congratulations on that. We look forward to maybe next year. And I just wanted to thank everybody who actually submitted the questions. This panel has been great. A lot of good questions where you've stumped them where they've got to go back and make sure they give us the correct answer. So I thought that was great. I also want to really encourage everybody to keep submitting those program submissions on nasco.org. Very easy process. And as I stated before, I've enjoyed today, and I encourage everybody to come and see us hopefully in person if this virus will die off in Indiana and Fort Wayne in 2021. And I feel like that's actually a perfect segue, kicking this over to Jamie Garriott, Indiana's National Convention Chairperson. Jamie?
Hello, NASCO. Do you know where you were 30 years ago? Were you in Indianapolis? Well, it's time for some fun in Indiana again. Hi, I'm Indiana Convention Chair Jamie Garriott. Indiana has selected Fort Wayne, Indiana for the next convention in 2021. Everything is within walking distance. It's an up and coming downtown area that has plenty to offer. Ladies and gentlemen of NASCO, I ask you, 2021, are you in?
Hello, everyone. I want to invite you to Fort Wayne, August 3rd through the 7th in 2021. The airport that is the closest is Fort Wayne, Indiana. Their code is FWA. There is a free shuttle to and from the airport. Hotels, they're $124 a night. This does include free parking. We'll be using the Hilton as the main hotel. There are 2 additional hotels in case, fingers crossed, we sell out. We have the Courtyard by Marriott and the Hampton Inn, which is $129 a night, right across the street. Fundraising, so big news, everyone. USDA masks. Indiana will be selling USDA masks starting Monday. These will be $8 and include shipping. We are not going to be doing the tickets this year. I am super excited for what our fundraising is going to be, so stay tuned for additional details on that. But the best thing about this is no tickets, and I can see all of you cheering because you don't have to sell them. So be looking on our website for the order form for the fundraising. That will be available on Monday. Speaking of website, we have our convention website up and going. It is visitfortwayne.com/NASCO 2021. Right now, you can go to that website. You can click on links to the hotels and make your reservations. Future registration information will be there. Local information is also there. There is a link on the NASCO webpage for the 2021 convention, and all you have to do is click on that to get to our site. Information, if you have questions for us, please send us an email at nasconationalconvention@gmail.com. So when you go to our website, this is what you're going to see. It has any information that you're going to need on there. It's got our dates, the location, our email address if you have questions. This is where the order form for the masks are going to be starting Monday. So please, $8 a mask. It includes shipping. Once we get tours all set up, we will have information on here for you. Any of these items, you can click on it. It'll take you to more information for each of those in the area. As you scroll down, there is a connectivity video here. It kind of shows you where everything is in relation to walking distance. And then book your hotels. The one on the left is the main hotel that we will be using. The Courtyard and the Hampton are directly across the street. Those links are active now, so you can book as many rooms as you would like. As you continue scrolling down, we have information on downtown dining, late night bites, things to do, all kinds of stuff. So again, NASCO, I hope to see you all in 2021, and I ask you, are you in?
Thank you, Jamie. I can tell you, I had the pleasure of doing the on-site visit with Jackson Jones, the Midwest area exec, and with Jamie, and what a beautiful, beautiful town. I grew up in Indiana. I don't know if too many of y'all know that since I am in Florida now, but I did grow up in Indiana. I never visited Fort Wayne. I always heard about Fort Wayne, but it was just such a beautiful town. And it's really, Jamie didn't touch on it a whole lot, but it's really family oriented. There are tons of things to do if you bring your children. And so if you're planning a vacation, you want to bring your kids, this is going to be the spot to do it because there are tons of things to do there. And I'm sure if you go to her website, she has all that information there. So I encourage you, for those of you who got a little taste of it, come drink the Kool-Aid with us and you'll never miss another one, because I can assure you Jamie's going to put on a top-notch convention, because I know her well enough to know how she is, and it's going to be awesome. So I would look forward to it, Jamie, and thanks for your presentation. To close up today, there's a few thank yous I want to give out. First, I want to thank the national office, those that participated yesterday, all the panel speakers today. What a great opportunity we have to ask questions, and you see, I mean, they don't know all the answers. They have to go back and get them for us. So you guys did a great job, as Chris said, is really putting them on the spot and asking them the hard questions. So we had a lot of questions that did not get asked today. Don't worry. We will send those up and we will get those posted to the website. So you will get answers to your questions, but thank you so much for participating in that. We had more questions today than we did yesterday, honestly, so it was pretty awesome. Just to close up things, I want to thank the chair people of all of Brandon's committees. Brandon did an amazing job of selecting his committee chairs. I cannot tell you how lucky we are to have these people volunteering their time to work for you. If you ever come to a convention, you will see the passion, you will see the drive that these people have. There's not one of them that let us down. Chris Larry, your emblems chair, she's tremendous. She worked with, you know, Dillard. She's worked with does Superior, that does all of our shirts and different things. I mean, she did a tremendous job this year. Julie Getzman, I've already bragged on her. She's our awards and scholarship person, and you can see she's very organized. She does a great job. Glenn Thomas, wow, preacher man's what we call him, but he has passion. He has driven this membership committee. He has done an amazing job. So enjoy talking with him and listening to him. If you ever get a chance, if you have membership questions, he's the man to talk to because he has such passion for NASCO. Legislative, we have Neil Burnett and Clint Bain. Those guys, they work their tails off. They're on the phone every week with Hunter. They're on the phone with Brandon and I every week. They have calls twice a week, I think. And it's just a lot of work that those guys go into that work for us and look at our legislative situations. Programs, Chris Hare, y'all see what he does. I mean, seriously, I think the man does not sleep because he works so many hours on doing programs. And Teresa Holmquist, you know, without her, all the publicity for this convention, the website, all of that would be nothing. That girl puts her heart and soul into getting our publicity done for NASCO, and I just want to thank all of you all. It's been such a joy to work with you all this year. And like I said, Brandon did an amazing job by selecting each one of you. Your execs, you all elect your execs. I'm kind of sad. We're losing two of our senior execs this year. Larry Parker and Jackson Jones will be going off. I'm sure we'll gain some amazing replacements for them. But Larry and Jackson, I want to thank you all for your service. You really did a good job. I will miss Jackson's challenging the group, and I will miss Larry always looking at every angle. He was he played devil's advocate a lot on the board, and it was really nice. He may not even have thought something that way, but he just threw it out there just to intrigue the group, to cause discussion. And we need that. We need to be challenged. We need to think of all angles because we represent everybody. Marla and Beth and Joel, they will be remaining, and I'm so proud to work with you guys. It's such a pleasure to work with you all the time. So thank you for all you do. And last but not least, my three boys that we are officers together, my brothers, I feel like we're all like one big family. So I just want to thank everybody for their hard work this year. I hope this virtual convention has been successful in the eyes of the membership, and hopefully we'll gain some new members out of this. Always know that our doors open for you. We're here for anything that you need. Feel free to call any of us. We'll always be there for you as far as NASCO is concerned. So thank you for attending. A reminder, you have at 3 o'clock, Board of Directors, you have a meeting to call in on, and we will be conducting our Board of Directors meeting. And then at 4 o'clock, for new and current executive committee members, there is a meeting at 4 o'clock. Just want to remind everyone for that. So with that, I will close out today's session. Thanks for attending.